What innocent question that someone asked you, crushed you a little. When will we dig up Dad? Asked by my almost 5-year son. He's never met him as Dad died 3 months before birth. This goes along the question, when will Dad stop being dead? A friend looked at me and said, I know we've talked about it before. But how did you break your nose? I've never broken my nose, this is just how it looks. Mom asked me, who are you? When I visited her recently. She has dementia. Not a question, but my 8-year-old niece once remarked, you don't laugh anymore. Edit. This was over a year ago when I was having a rough time, but I'm doing much better now. Thank you all for your support and for sharing your stories. I wish you all the best. Thanks again for the gold, kind strangers XX. I worked in retail when I was younger and people would always be like, oh, do you have any ideas for Father's Day? What did you get your dad? My dad committed suicide when I was 16. They had no way of knowing that, but damn if it didn't hurt. When I was 13, my mom got a divorce from a man who I can only refer to as a stepmonster. I worked all summer to save up money since we didn't have a lot, and I was worried we wouldn't have enough to pay the bills. I ended up having a few dollars left over and wanted to buy my mom a gift, and she mentioned she needed a new watch for her birthday. I went to the jeweler and got a $100 gold Citizen Evo Drive watch. It was functional and it looked really nice. When I gave it to her, her first response was, thanks honey. Did it come in silver? I was crushed. Insult to injury. She started dating a guy around the same time and he bought her a crappy silver watch. She ended up wearing his over mine. 18 years later, and it still hurts when I think about it. Edit. I didn't realize this was going to resonate with so many people. Thanks everybody for the kind words. But I promise I didn't let it ruin my life. Just one of those memories that sticks with you. When I ever have kids, I know to never brush off their gift. I can't imagine having my child feel the same way I did. As for all the awards, I laughed to see so many silver awards due to the irony. Don't worry. I'll keep them all. When me and my dad and my sister were driving to another town to get away from my mom so we could eat without getting yelled at, stuff thrown at us, my sister asked why mommy was so mean. And my dad had to simplify to her level that her mom was an alcoholic. She was 6. Edit. Oh shit, this blew up, thanks I guess. Rough night last night? Usually asked with a big smile. I was asked that all the time when I was younger because I had a really obvious tremor. Thing is, I did not drink or do drugs at all, and I had no idea what was wrong with me. I was eventually diagnosed with Graves' disease and treated for it. But I still have a bit of a tremor. Coworker innocently asked, who does the cooking at your house? I had very recently separated from my wife and was living alone. I went to get a haircut for my fiancé's funeral. It was Friday. He had died on Tuesday. My stylist, all bubbly, said, it's been a while. The last time I saw you, you were just about to move in with your boyfriend. How's it going? The words stuck and I kind of rasped it out. Honestly though, her reaction was so wonderful. She was behind me, and just put her hands firmly on my shoulders and looked me in the eyes in the mirror. No shock. No stupid platitudes. Just silent, genuine empathy. The rest of the haircut was pretty quiet. But she did everything so, lovingly, and didn't make a big deal out of it when I cried a little. How are you handling everything? My notary public, who also happens to be my boss's boss while notarizing my divorce paperwork. Completing a divorce packet with no help from an attorney can be a real pain in the ass. But at least it kept me focused on the bureaucratic bullshit nonsense part of it rather than the fact that my 9-year marriage was ending. Turned out that as soon as someone asked me sincerely how I was doing, the answer was not at all well. I went back to my desk and had a panic attack. Why don't you ever go out? Well, because I don't have anyone to go out with. Damn. How's your brother doing? Haven't seen him in a little while. He passed away 2 years ago. That wasn't very fun. Edit. I appreciate everybody reaching out to me. It means a lot. Edit 2. I'll add to my story further by saying a close second place would be, why wasn't your dad at your brother's funeral? Life sucks sometimes. My 5-year-old cousin asked me where Grandpa was when we were getting ready to head to his funeral. Everyone went silent and we just kind of stared at each other until my dad managed to distract her. It was brutal. Edit. Based off of some of the comments here, I feel like I should elaborate on this. This was the first family death I've experienced, so I barely knew what to say to older children. Much less a 5-year-old. We didn't want to tell her anything because we didn't know what her parents told her, so we felt like it was best to change the subject. That being said, watching children react to seeing the body at a funeral is probably one of the worst feelings I've ever experienced. What's on her face? Mom? Little girl. I used to be a cashier and had terrible acne at the time. Last week, my son's therapist asked me how I was holding up with everything that has been happening. And if I was remembering to take time to care for myself while I was working on helping my son. I imagine she was thinking I would just give her my usual, "Oh, I am plugging along" response. Instead, I broke down and started sobbing and word vomited how bad shit is and how hard a time I am having and what a selfish piece of shit I feel like for having the audacity to feel so bad when my son is having such a hard time. Not my best moment. Edited to add, thank you everyone for the encouragement. It was really nice to read. For what it is worth, my son is doing much better. He feels safer. And he knows he has a strong group of adults behind him that love him, believe him, and are working hard to protect him. And I am working on getting myself a therapist as well. Thank you for the idea of online therapy. Because that is something I had never considered but is probably a great solution for my time issues currently. We are going to be okay. I know that. Right now feels pretty hopeless. But I know we will get through this. I appreciate the encouragement. I had no friends in summer school and a girl asked me if I had any friends. Like straight up, do you have any friends? Then became friends with me but still. When are you due? I wasn't pregnant. Have since lost over 60 pounds though. Specialist appointment and they did the normal thing of checking contact details. They asked if the contact number and details for my wife were still correct. I started crying. My wife passed away this time 12 months ago. Surprising how much one simple question asked in total innocence can bring you to your knees. I always wanted to study psychology in college but my overbearing mother wouldn't have that, so I studied chemistry. In my last semester I took an abnormal psychology class just for fun and I crushed it, ending with a 99% average. After the final, my professor took me outside the classroom and said, "Why didn't you major in psychology? You would have made a great psychologist." That really crushed my soul. I think about that day a lot. What do you see when you look in the mirror each morning? My friend was having some body issues and she asked me this question since I was one of the most confident people she knew. She learned maybe a bit too much that day. My recently divorced ex and I worked at the same place. Divorce was not my idea but he'd found someone new and I was heartbroken. He ended up quitting at her insistence. 6 months after the divorce was final. A coworker asked how ex-husband was doing. Hadn't seen him since he quit yada yada. Behind my back another coworker was trying to wave first coworker off. Spent the rest of the shift crying on and off. Apparently coworker number 1 was oblivious and didn't know we divorced. Just thought ex had quit. Edit. Spelling. When will you get better so you can play with us? My niece who was too young to understand what disabled meant. She's older now and understands I will never get better. And we have adapted playtime to do things I can handle as well. But that broke my heart. Nonverbal. But the nurse at the flu shot station seemed unsure whether to give me the under 65 or over 65 consent form. If I'm going to be mistaken for being that much older than my actual age, at least it should be in the context of me getting a senior discount. Why do you work in a factory when you have an honors degree in physics? Someone once asked me, don't you want to be a mom? Yes, I do. But as I'm single, over 40 and not rich, that's probably not going to happen and it devastated me. I had to say yes. I'd love that. And then excuse myself to go home and cry. A waiter asked me if my wife was pregnant once. She was just bloated from chemo side effects. Crushed me. So glad she didn't hear. She couldn't have had kids and she passed 2 years back. Edit. I just wanted to say thanks to those who commented on this. It wasn't expected. We went to the place a lot, so as a young couple he had seen over the years it was probably a reasonable thing to assume. Also I'm doing okay. We knew she was terminal for most of our relationship. We probably did more in those few short years than we would have normally. It hurts a lot still, but I know I have her everything I possibly could in that time. Just remember to live life like each day could be your last people. Mend that broken friendship. Ask out that girl. Follow your dream. XXX. My mom accidentally called me after about 10 years of not talking. I answered all ready for a serious conversation. When I answered, she was like, "Wait, who's this?" I say, "Hey mom, it's Fraggle Rocks." Her reply is what hurt. "Fraggle Rocks who? Why are you calling me mom?" She was so drunk, high, she didn't recognize her own daughter's name. Fuck I. So when are you going back for your master's degree? I was so proud of getting my bachelor's and had no intention of going back because how rough school was for me. I could never imagine getting cancer at such a young age. How are you this strong, brave? Do you stay so positive? I've stopped counting the amount of people, especially working at the hospital. I'd expect a bit more sensitivity from them, that have asked me that. Yes, I'm mid-20s. But it's not a choice that I'm staying strong. It's fucking survival. Every time someone asks me that, it feels like getting punched. I teach first grade and was talking about how I've been married for 5 years. One student asked, "How could you not have a baby by now?" Not wanting to explain multiple miscarriages and IVF to a classroom of 6-year-olds, I said, "Being around all of you makes my heart so full that I don't think I have room in my heart for a baby." They all smiled. I smiled too. I've learned from my experience to never ask couples if they want to have a family. Fucking hurts. My son undergoing chemo and radiation treatment for a bone marrow transplant. People, meaning well of course, would always ask, "How's your son doing?" I'd always have to fake a smile and give some shallow hopeful answer, "He's fine." He's a fighter, but deep inside the question crushed me every time. No. He was suffering. Teetered on the brink of life and death. He was not fine, and every time I heard that question I was reminded of it and had to swallow the pain. My son has since recovered. But it was a very tough time. I work at a pretty boring convenience store and my neighbor down the street. Young, maybe 12 to 13-year-old kid was there. Good kid. Usually hangs out there and talks to me. One day I was drawing cartoons for him by his request and he said, "Wow, you're really good at making cartoons. Why don't you just quit this job and become an animator or make comic books?" Really bummed me out, cause when I was his age that's all I wanted to do, but never was financially ever given even the slightest opportunity to go to school for something like that, and I'll never have the motivation for stuff like that, working 50+ hour weeks in retail hell just to barely make ends meet. Plus I remember being his age and thinking people could still do whatever they want when they grow up. Edit. Wow, I can't believe all the responses I've got on here. I didn't realize how many there were until I got home from work. I don't post often, but there is really some extremely kind and awesome people on here. Thank you all for the support and suggestions. I've truly been inspired to look into what I want to do more. I don't quite have everything in order yet, but I've got some new ideas and perspectives from all of you for sure. I think I will start some sort of webcomic or multiple. Possibly some for children and bilingual as well. I didn't even realize how many options I had. Thanks Reddit smiley face. You guys are awesome, honestly. One day I said to my mom I was going out with friends and she asked, "You have friends?" It was a joke, but damn. I felt that so hard. My loving girlfriend, I know, backdoor brag, and I were watching a show that opens with a stoner dude playing video games. When his hardworking girlfriend pull up outside, he scrambles to pretend like he wasn't being a lazy slob. My girlfriend off-handled says, "Oh, man, just like us." About a year ago I had been out of work for 6 months while she had a steady job. For the record, I didn't get stoned and play video games. I was constantly applying for jobs and dealing with emotional fallout of having a dozen job interviews that fell through for various reasons. It was just an innocent comment about the girlfriend getting home. But like, damn. I got asked why I wouldn't stand up straight for a photo. I have kyphosis and am standing up as straight as I can. Back in 6th grade we were watching a film in my science class. Of course, my table took this opportunity to just chat. Don't remember exactly what we were talking about, but my friend finds out I didn't know the word vagina. Knew the body part, just not the term. I didn't get to explain that to the table because his immediate response was, "Didn't your dad ever have the talk with you?" I spent the rest of the period with my head down crying. My friend kind of freaked out. He demanded that no one at the table say anything sex-related because he thought that maybe I was crying cause I wasn't mature enough to talk about that stuff yet. I told him later that night on RuneScape that my dad had been arrested about a year or 2 ago and that was the reason for my reaction. I'm 25 now and deaf over it. Lol. But at the time that question destroyed me. It was good though, he was the first person I'd talked about it with and it brought us closer at the time. Someone jokingly asked me if I was high because my eyes were red. I had just been diagnosed with an eye disease and told I would go blind before 50. My eyes were red from my medicated eye drops and partially from crying. I was only 16 and having a hard time coming to terms with it. When are you going to finish your thesis? I saw a thing about a little girl who asked a WW2 veteran if they'd do it again and he replied, "I'd do it again. Just for you." I almost cried, pleading face. How do I ask out? Guy name that isn't me. Are you okay? You seems a little off. I've been diagnosed with chronic depression and paranoia disorders for years and I thought I was doing a decent job hiding it from all my friends. But apparently it wasn't good enough, I guess. Edit. Thank you all for the massive amounts of support you guys have shown me, truly it means the world to me. Why don't you have any kids? Sometimes it really bothers me when people ask me this. Why don't you live with your parents? I live with my grandparents because I didn't want to live with my abusive stepmoms on both sides of the family. They all live down in Texas while I'm in Colorado. Still hurts a little when people ask. Though. Table for how many? The first time we went out for dinner after my dad completed suicide. That one hit like a truck. I have a tattoo on my chest that's a song title of my favorite band. I had the tattoo artist do it in the font style of their logo. It's in a runic-looking style font and says my own savior. The S in savior is kinda center of my chest. After about 3 years of having this tattoo now, someone at my new job last week cornered me asking what kind of S that is. Pretty much insinuating that it was some Nazi bolt S or something. I had to pull up a picture of the band logo to show it wasn't, but fuck, it still bothers me. I'm constantly hoping now that no one thinks I'm a Nazi asshole with this tattoo. You're so great. Why are you still single? Where do you work? Disabled combat veteran struggling with PTSD and bipolar 2. It's a blow every time someone reminds me that I barely contribute financially to our family. Edit. You guys are so awesome. Speaking to my coach the other day, she asked me, "How are you feeling?" And I honestly did my best not to cry my eyes out. I just got out of school and have to figure out what I want to study next year while balancing 3 jobs that barely gives me enough for rent. So, I feel bad, to be honest. You know how sometimes in Skyrim people just suddenly start asking you if you're sick, and it's kinda weird? Especially since I always play a wood elf. So I don't know what "you look sick" means. I get that. People will randomly ask me if I am okay. Never when I'm in my wheelchair. Either. Just at random with nothing I know of to prompt it. Like, I thought I was. Until now. Thank you for being concerned about my well-being. But, why are you concerned? Or this girl offering pedicures at the mall who leaned down to talk to me with her hands on her knees and asked me if I wanted to feel pretty. Then told my boyfriend, who was pushing my wheelchair, that they even do pedicures for them. Edit, since people keep pointing it out. I know why people in Skyrim say it. But the fact that I don't look any different when they say it is the point. It can be really discouraging when you think you look good and someone asks if you're sick. I dropped out of university a few months back because I wasn't happy. I've since moved home, and sometimes at work, people I haven't seen in a while will approach me and ask how school is going. It was my decision to leave university, but when people ask it about, I can't help but feel judged when I say I've dropped out. If my girlfriend at the time was my daughter. We're only 2 years different in age, but I look old AF. I was only 22, lol. Is she your girlfriend? No mom, I was just rejected. My senile and racist grandma once asked me, in front of the rest of my entire extended family, "Oh, I was digging up some old photos from that trip to Arizona and you were about this tall. You used to be so cute. What happened?" Like, damn, I'm sorry, I'm in the best physical and mental shape of my life right now, but okay, just make me laugh it off and call myself ugly in front of people I care about way more than you, why don't ya? So how's work? And have you checked out those university options I told you about? Not knowing, I quit and decided to put schooling on pause to sort out my life a bit. So what are you doing after you finish college? Why are you so weird? I never really fit in. But I'm not sure why this question crushed me so much. People asking if you are pregnant because your belly is slightly protruding. No Karen, I have to shit. It's been 3 days. I don't mean these to be offensive. But like, why do all the guys want you? Edit. Okay, so these have been my first few days on Reddit and everyone is being so sweet to me, I can't stop checking responses. All of you guys are so sweetheart. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified about future videos. Now check out one of these interesting videos.